Welcome to MidDay Café, Viva Edition, brought to you by your Microsoft Healthcare and Life Sciences Group. We invite you, as always, to follow us at aka.ms/HLSblog. That's aka.ms/HLSblog.
Well, thank you, Mike, for the introduction. My name is Jasmine Hoegh. I'm a technical specialist with Microsoft, and today I'm going to be discussing Viva Engage with some of my teammates here, Chad Tate, and he is a client executive here at Microsoft that works with some of our top health and life sciences providers within the U.S. I'm so excited to have him here, as well as for you, the audience, to be here as well. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get started with talking about what is Viva Engage. Now I'm sure you've heard of Viva as in a variety of ways, but today we're going to focus on the collaboration aspect of it. We'll talk a little bit about what problem the Viva Engage platform is going to solve. We'll do a demo. We'll also look at some features that are coming up in the future, and we'll have a brief discussion from an organization perspective as to how our organization is using it. So first, what is Microsoft Viva in general? Viva is a integrated employee experience platform. We have a series of modules that come together in a suite of products that help make your employee's life a little easier, help them address some of those burnout concerns, connect with their community, as well as grow and find purpose in their work. The great thing about Viva is that it's built on the Microsoft 365 platform, and it is top notch when it comes to security, when it comes to integration, as well as other administrative services. So Viva Engage. Viva Engage focuses on building and strengthening relationships throughout an organization. With the onset of hybrid work and the continuous increase of hybrid work, organizations are finding it difficult for employees to get together, and not only that, but find connection with each other. Sometimes you're in meetings back to back via video conferencing through Teams, or sometimes there's some employees that may make it into the office only to find that there's not too many others in there. So how do you build that sense of community, or those relationships that you typically find face to face in a space where it's mostly hybrid? Additionally, leaders are finding it difficult to engage with their employees, predominantly because they're not in the office, or because of the way that their organization is set up is not necessarily conducive to forming those relationships or being able to communicate information easily throughout their organization. Additionally, finding answers it can be a little difficult. Whereas when you're in the office, you may stop by someone's desk and ask them a quick question. Of course, you can always pick up the phone or give them a Teams call and ask the questions, but everyone doesn't have the time essentially to respond immediately. So you don't necessarily get that face-to-face kind of answer and question addressed as you would in the office. And this is where Viva Engage comes in to help address those concerns, from building relationships to helping build those communities, engaging with leaders and employees, as well as sharing knowledge and ideas and answers throughout the organization. Some of the things that we've addressed earlier that has made it harder is, how do you find answers that are hard to find, but you don't know who to talk to? Or how do you address the cost of managing that kind of information, or managing the knowledge within the organization, that remote work, or even when employees leave, how do you retain that knowledge that it gets lost when the employee moves on to either another organization, another team, or even another company? These are all things that Viva Engage will address. So when we're talking about getting answers at work, sometimes there's a trigger. I have a question. You ask the persons around me. Then you do your due diligence. Then you ask another question. Hope you get the answer, and then so on and so forth. So sometimes you have these other things. I can't seem to find anything. So you're doing your due diligence, but I still can't get the answer. Has anyone asked this? Will I look dumb if I ask this question? So how do you find those? How do you look at information that's already out there and available to get those answers. And then has anybody even seen my question? Sometimes you put a question out there and who's actually seen it? Once more, these are things that Viva Engage will address. And so with that being said, I'm going to jump into my Viva Engage environment, and I'll show you how to access Viva. Let me just share my main screen. So to get started, I'm going to start within Teams. As you see, I'm within Teams. And once I'm within Teams, I will then go to my Viva Connections homepage. Within Viva Connections, you'll see access to learning, insights, goals, and engage. These are other Viva modules, which there are other videos on this series focused specifically on some of these other modules. But you'll notice Viva Engage. And so I'm going to jump right into Viva Engage. And it will take me to my organization's Viva Engage homepage. Here, you'll find the different communities that are part of Viva Engage. On your home, you'll have different content, different stories or communities and different comments that they have within the organization. But once more, remember some of the things we talked about. How do you formulate communities? How do you engage with each other? How do you form connections? And this is where you're going to come into the communities section of Viva Engage. As you'll notice, there's a series of special interest groups within Viva Engage. I'm going to a few more here. And then we also have a CEO connection. So this is where our leadership will go and engage with us as organization. There's also a leadership corner, and I'll share that in another session. Additionally, you'll notice that as an organization, we have an all company community where everyone in the community can come together, share ideas, have conversations amongst each other, ask questions, and get those questions answered. Additionally, we have a new team member community, and this community is focused on those who are onboarding within our organization. One of the things that's really difficult, especially for those who are new or onboarding now within a hybrid space, they don't necessarily have that sense of community and they're not sure where to go to ask those questions. And that's one of the things where Viva Engage really comes in. So they can come to this community, ask questions, get those questions answered, also respond and have those who are knowledgeable throughout the organization answer those questions. Additionally, you'll find information that's related to the new onboarding experience or those who are onboarding within Microsoft or within Smarter Health, onboarding to this space. So for example, you have the internal wiki, you have shuttle schedules, you have clinical onboarding, HR and manager onboarding. So all of this content is information that's relevant for those that are new to the organization, finding answers for those that are finding answers to questions that they may not have otherwise known how to find. Remember, sometimes people don't know where to go to get the answer, and that's where your community comes into play. Additionally, there's a feature called Storyline, where in the Storyline, this is where you can go and you can follow different team members within the organization. I follow Dr. G. Dr. G has a lot of content that he shares throughout the organization. I'm not going to play any of his videos, but these are some of the stories that he shared. Once more, you're able to find who is involved in what type of program and who you can ask questions to. For example, in this particular group, don't have for concussion special interest group. I know who I can go to by looking at the members here, and this little star icon indicates that this person is a subject matter expert in this space. I can go to their page, and then I can also follow them, or I can see what else they're posting about. So I'm going to follow this person in particular. So that's one of the ways that Viva Engage definitely helps within the organization. Additionally, because it's part of the Microsoft 365 platform, you can connect Viva Engage to other aspects of your environment. For example, I'm going to go back to our Smarter Health Viva Connections page, where I can see information that's related to me specifically, but I can also see a feed of community information right on my page that's relevant to me. Additionally, within other areas throughout M365, we can pull in this content that's within, we can pull in this content that's within the organization. So in this instance, I'm going to go to my Smarter Health Viva topics page. Go here. And then I'm gonna go to my topic center. And this is Viva Topics, but I'm going to go once more to my onboarding page. Go here, onboarding clinical. And within the onboarding clinical page, once more is some page where we have additional information. It's also connected to the Viva Engage. And you'll notice that within the onboarding page, I can see conversations throughout the Viva Engage community that's related to the onboarding process, all connected, so that I can, regardless of where I access this information, it's the same information and I can get the same answers. In addition to this, I can have discussions, I can submit praise, and I can conduct a poll that's relevant to to my particular community. Now, really quickly, I'm going to make a quick switch, and I'm going to show you some features that are also available within Viva Engage, and specifically around Viva Answers. So give me 1 minute while I share my screen. And within Viva Answers, this is a way for you to ask questions and create a knowledge sharing space where if a person has asked the question, then someone else can answer the question and you can keep track of those answers. So in addition to that, there's achievements and awards that will be available to those who ask questions or who answer questions, adding aspects of gamification to your question, to your Viva Engage answers. Additionally, there's analytics that will be available within the answer space. So you'll notice answers analytics. You can see who responded to a question, why it matters, how many people helped with answering a question, and if the question is meaningful. You'll also be able to keep track of questions that you may have personally answered. Additionally, you'll see a summary of different questions, whether or not it's helpful. Who are some of those who have been posting questions and or posting answers or responses to some of the questions, and who asked the question. Additionally, some of those analytics that as we discussed before, you'll be able to take a deeper dive into the types of roles, departments, locations, and topics that are being asked, and see, okay, which area maybe has a wealth of knowledge that's responding to questions, or asking, or actually, what kind of questions are coming up in a specific community that may need a little more little more help, or maybe some more training. Notice you'll also find the engagement on your questions. So remember some of the questions that we asked earlier that people struggle with, like, did anyone even see my question? Am I even going to get an answer? Then you'll be able to see the type of engagement that follows within those answers. Additionally, the types of questions that are personal for you, things that you're following, you can keep track of that. You can see who's viewing it, the type of engagement, the questions answered, and then also follow those and follow those who you're following, see how they're responding. Additionally, as I mentioned before, some of the analytics that you'll find. Now, these are global analytics. Before I was showing you some of those personal analytics, but these are some of the global analytics that are also be available to those with specific permissions within an organization. Additionally, you'll see some of the top viewed questions within the organization, which is pretty important. This may be a matter of, do we need to engage in some additional training within our organization? Or is this something that's a hot topic within my organization or within a specific community? If that's the case, how do we address it? So now you have actionable insights that can inform the type of content that you do develop for your organization. Additionally, you'll see how user engagement is distributed. Once more, some of those top badge earners, once more, some of that gamification that you'll find within Viva Engage from the Answers platform. You'll additionally see some of the trending items, what's trending up, what's trending down, and then things that you'll see coming up immediately. So for example, you'll be able, currently that's available today, discover knowledge, route questions, search and answer, employee recognition, as well as connected experiences. Next, we have audience analytics. And so as a leader, some of the problem states we have is I want to improve employee experience. To do this, you need to reach and engage your audience, keep up with the pulse of your organization, measure the impact, and engage in best practices to reach those goals. So when we're speaking about reaching and engaging your target audience, you need to understand first if you are reaching them. After you do that, are you inspiring active engagement? There's, nothing sadder if you, as a leader, you want to engage with your community or with your organization, but they're not engaging back. So what kind of content, what do you need to do to make sure that you're reaching your organization with the appropriate amount of content? Also, you want to also look at how can you, where are those areas for improvement? When we're talking about keeping up with the pulse of the organization, how do you leverage the adoption of Viva Engage for your organization? How do you gauge sentiment? How do you identify important topics and conversations? Some of those analytics that we discussed earlier within the Viva Answers. Now we're going to talk about Viva Engage all around and how you can look at your audience's analytics. We can look at audience activity. We can look at the activities across your audience. In this instance, understand where to reach your audience and engage with them. Understand their usage, understand those trends. How does your audience connect on Viva? All those types of analytics are built within the Engage analytics. Additionally, you can identify sentiment. So quickly identify sentiment. Sometimes you're going through a lot of different content. You're like, wow, I don't really know how they feel. So in this instance, there's a way to understand that sentiment. Additionally, you can see what those top themes within your organization is. In this instance, is work-life balance. And then how do you then address that? How do you can then think about, well, what do we need to do? What kind of content do we need to provide to our organization in order to make sure that we have we're addressing the needs of our community? So some of the things that we will see coming up, all of these items are actually already available within your organization, but will be coming soon. Coaching, benchmarking, measurements, outcomes via Clint, and as well as community analytics. So with that being said, I want to ask one of my team members, Chad, to jump on really quickly. And we're going to have a quick, just kind of a quick discussion on what he's hearing within some of his customers or some of their pain points. And then let's see what we can potentially do to address them. Thanks,
Thanks,
Chad, for joining.
thanks, Jasmine, for the thoroughness. Extremely helpful from my perspective, from a payer's perspective. Um, what I'm hearing from, I would say that the accounts that I support is from a Viva lens. The adoption has not realistically been there. More importantly, I would say the updates. And what I mean by update is when there is a new release from a Viva perspective, their champions are not retrieving the update. So I'll use one specific example. Theoretically, we have two specific accounts and identical responses where when we present, I would say what's new, what's shiny, what's latest and greatest from a Viva perspective, they're not getting the same, I would say, visibility. So we've reached out to obviously their admin. They are the champions internally at the organization, and unfortunately, from an adoption perspective, along with I would say just ease of use, it's not there. So I think the top of mind, the specific initiative is how can Microsoft provide updates to our customers to align with when we're presenting. So when you go down to obviously let's talk about engagement, and I know under Viva Engage there was a leadership pillar. Within that pillar, they're not even seeing leaders' storyline. They're engaged. It's literally, one pillar. So how can we, I would say, drive that adoption not only internally at Microsoft, but more importantly at our customer level? That's I would say, the elephant in the room.
So I think a portion of it stems from understanding what kind of licenses your customer has. Are they using the Viva Engage, what we call seated or out of the box feature? Or are they using the Viva Engage, let's say the Viva Engage licensing premium feature set? And so I think maybe one of the things that you're seeing is that they're not using the premium features. And so hence they're perhaps not seeing some of those additional capabilities, such as the leadership corner, which is part of the premium SKU. That would also, from a maybe adoption perspective, this is where Viva Engage could really shine with your customer. I think in the previous, like in one of the area in the environment that I shared with you, we have the we have the onboarding space, but we can also leverage it from an adoption perspective as well. For example, some of the customers that I've worked with, what they've done is they've leveraged Viva Engage as a way to drive adoption for Viva in general. For example, they have a community dedicated to Viva. And so this community is a place where people can go and ask questions about the product, get those questions answered, as well as to engage with others in the community to do so. I have one customer that and I'm gonna share my screen really quickly. I have one customer who they saw Viva Engage adoption go from 30 some odd members to over 3,000 in a matter of a couple of days. That was how fast the usage of it spread, or I should say a couple of weeks. That was how fast the usage of Viva Engage spread because they immediately saw, okay, as a community, we can come in here and we can quickly ramp up and ask questions with each other, or get answers to questions that we need, or as a community formulate essentially formulate a community where we support each other. And so from an adoption perspective, we also have resources for Viva Engage adoption as well as Viva adoption. And I'll definitely share some of those resources with you, as well as with those that are here in our audience, for how it can be, how they can increase the adoption within Viva Engage more quickly, or ramp up more quickly. Additionally, as part of your team, I think, is your customer success manager part of the conversation in helping your organizations?
Yeah, so we have a CSAM, and then we have a customer success manager as well. The customer success manager is essentially I would say, the resource that's doing the monthly touch point.
Okay. And so, well, that's a really good thing. That's a really good best practice that you're already leveraging, which is the customer success, the regular updates, or kind of like what's coming, what's new, what's hitting your way. It sounds like that you have a good cadence, which is also one of those kind of like tough things um to get moving within the organization. But I think that the good thing is that you already have that infrastructure. And I'm going to share with you, and I'll also share this in the link with the links. This is our Viva Engage adoption um, uh, page. There's also information on other Viva modules, or Viva platform suite of products that you can also leverage. Additionally, they have a Viva Engage lookbook, Meet and Viva, some video. There's also a resource library that you can leverage, adoption guides, as well as downloadable and editable templates that you can use. Additionally, training guides, and then introduction to Viva blog posts. Also, how can you become a champion, as well as streamlining end user training and validating skills. So I think some of the things that you're looking for within your organization, we definitely have those resources that are available to you. And I'll make sure that I send this to you and also share it with our audience.
Thank you.
And I know we're running low on time, but do you have any other questions?
Nothing that I can think of now. No. So you're basically insinuating, obviously, have our CSAM and the CSM to continue these engagements, and then
Definitely.
ensure, from a licensing perspective, they're not on the I would say the older version, workplace analytics.
No, so we have within Viva Engage, that's a really good question. And so within the Viva platform, what you have is you have the what we call the seeded version or the out of the
Mhm,
box version that an organization gets that is part of their M365 licensing. For
mhm.
example, you have Viva Insight, you have Viva Connections, you have aspects of Viva Engage, as well as aspects of Viva Learning. And so all of those products come out of the box. However, when you leverage the Viva Premium Edition, that's when you get some of those more advanced features, such as the Leadership Corner, the Viva Answers, as well as the Viva Analytics.
Okay.
And so that may be why your organization is not seeing them. And one of the good things, as I mentioned before, is that that you already have a cadence for discussing what is going to come next, or I should say each month with your organization. But in addition to that, you also have they also are have Viva Engage available. And so you can essentially leverage Viva to help with building the Viva Engage adoption story. Okay,
Okay. Perfect.
awesome. So with that being said, I want to thank you for joining. And if we have questions, please reference our MidDay Café blog. And I will also put this link for the Viva Engage adoption resource page into our blog for the Viva Engage. So with that said, I hope hope you have a good rest of the day. And I will see you on our next podcast at the MidDay Cafe.
Thank you, Jasmine.
No problem.